Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show this evening. I am super excited about this evening, and it promises to be an exciting time as we discuss how to accelerate digital transformation in sub Saharan Africa. And we're looking at this from the perspective of someone who is on the forefront of this exercise in Africa, someone who has been there, has been working on this thing for many years, has a lot of experience across multiple sectors. And our guest tonight, I'll be reading his profile in a second. He is very knowledgeable in this topic. He has helped many organizations achieve success in this topic. But just before I read the profile and I bring our guest on, please share the links with your friends. Let them know that the show has started. It's going to be an exciting time. We are live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook, we're live on Instagram and on Twitter as well. The handles are showing on the screen now. So please share this, invite your friends. It's going to be an interactive session. We've got so many questions to put across to our guest for this evening. And our guest this evening is Femi Osinubi. Femi is a fellow chartered accountant and a computer science graduate. He holds an MBA from Warwick University and Warwick Business School in the United Kingdom. He is a partner and leader of technology and digital for PwC West Africa. He also looks after risk assurance and the entertainment industry. Femi comes with over 20 years of multi sector experience covering financial services in the Middle East, in Africa, and Europe as well. The spectrum of Femi's knowledge goes from intelligent automation, robotic process automation, data governance, revenue assurance, and much more. Prior to joining PwC in 2016, Femi worked with PwC London and also worked for the Vodafone Group for over 12 years. Now, key to Femi's experience is the setting up of what is called the PwC Experience Center. And this is focused, a center that's focused on innovation, focused on emerging technologies. And Femi has also spoken and organized programs in many industry events. And like I said earlier, he is not new at all in this industry. So, Femi, you are welcome to the show this evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Akin. Thanks for the very generous introduction. Really appreciate that. But I think that was too generous. Yeah, thanks.
Excellent. Well, before we go on into the details of the show tonight, I have a question for you here. Clearly, from your profile, you are very accomplished. The question is this: for someone who says they want a career similar to yours, what would you advise them to do?
Well, that's a tough question because I always tell people there are different routes to do things to get to where I am today. I've experienced. I worked across probably three continents now. I've done a lot of work in the Middle East. Even I worked in the Caribbean. I've stayed in the Caribbean for close to 6 months. I worked in the UK. I worked in UK for about 12 years. I worked in Ghana for about 4 years. Nigeria in the last almost 6 years now. But again, people say, who are you? I'm a fellow chartered accountant, but I haven't practiced accounting for about how many years now? Up to 19 years. But I can do accounting. I don't audit. I work in a professional service firm. I've done I've been a director of finance before in my career. I've been a director of revenue management. I've implemented technology solutions. I'm in emerging tech. So I tell people there are several ways to get to where you want to get to. But what I tell people, whatever you're doing, just do them well. Because every experience you gain, whether as a clerk or say an IT analyst, is going to become very relevant. No, now I talk to business leaders. I talk to CIOs comfortably, CTOs comfortably. Similarly, the CFOs and the CEOs want to talk to me because I can bring everyone together. And I believe that people in my space in emerging tech is a lot appropriate if you have lots of business knowledge. And that means that you can transform it easily, you can get things done easily. It's not just the technical knowledge, but you have very, very good business knowledge as you go into the transformational journey that we are going into, or we are already into globally. Every organization transforming, so they need people with a lot of knowledge across different sectors, across different areas of expertise, and I think that's been my own experience in the last over 20 years. Yeah.
So, question for you there, Femi.
All right.
Was that journey planned?
It was. I knew I wanted to be a leader. I knew uh, my sole, objective right from 20 something years ago. Because I started with an IT company. Then I moved into Price Hotels early days, spent about 5 years, and left. I've left PwC. I left PwC twice, interestingly. So I've been in the industry, and I resigned. Then went back and I resigned and went back again, and they keep bringing me back. But those experiences were very, so it's one of those. So when people are leaving, they say, "Oh, Femi, well, you've done it before," but I say, "I have a different route. Make sure you follow your own journey. It's a different journey because those times that, but some people have been straight PwC for over 20 years. But my journey was, I knew I wanted to get to the top. I knew I wanted to lead people because I'm very good with people. Um, and I'm very lucky that I did not plan a particular journey. And why is that? Because in the last 5, 6 years, things have been very dynamic. Everything profession is emerging. So I was so lucky that I'm not one of those people that have actually been fixated in one direction. If I look at in PwC globally, we have thousands of partners in my space, in different emerging tech space, and we have partners around virtual reality, analytics, robotics, AI. None of us were actually doing this or planned for this 6 years ago. So I like the way that it's come. But what we were actually doing was we were preparing for the future. One thing I tell younger people is you've got to be adaptable. I don't even push. I have teenagers. I don't tell them what to do. Do anything you want to do. My son will enter university next year. I don't care. I tell him just be focused, do well, because things will change. The best people in the medical fields are not necessarily the people reading, into that medical profession now. It's going to be driven by technologies, people that can adapt in across all professions. So I'm very lucky that I trained myself to be adaptable, to be able to do whatever comes my way. And I think that's actually worked for me, and it's still working for me.
Well, now, I've got a question for you around the PwC Experience Center. What
Yeah.
led you to create that initiative?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. No, that's a fantastic question. It's if you look at if you review business landscapes in the last 20 years across globally, um, whether in Nigeria, whether in West Africa, or globally, you will see that there's been a dramatic shift in the companies. In the way companies, in the companies that we now consider valuable, um, then and now.
Mm,
Um, 20 years ago, when you're looking at most valuable companies, we'll be talking about Mobil, Shell, ExxonMobil, Shell, all even the likes of Kodak. If you go and see the evaluation, especially Mobil and Shell, it's no longer interesting. Businesses like Blockbuster, Kodak, they've gone completely extinct. Um, Why some are just not as valuable as they used to be as well. So share prices are fall. If you look at the stock market, and New York Stock Exchange, Nasdaq, LSE, even Nigerian Stock Exchange, everything is dropping. So again, when we look at our business, PwC, we are traditionally an accountant firm, big. We're over 150 about 1867. That was when PwC, Cooper's, Pricewaterhouse were created. Traditionally, an accounting firm provides support to clients across audit, assurance, tax, and advice, traditional advisory services. However, we've realized that the competitive landscape is changing completely. Um, and it's changing due to a collision of market forces, mega trends. When we talk about mega trends, we're looking at demographic shifts, we're looking at urbanization, we're looking at technological breakthroughs, we're looking at sustainability and climate change, we're looking at change in economic power, shifts in economic power. And if you look at those five major mega trends, you will realize that this is the time to actually to respond to these changes. And what we have done in PwC is actually to focus on digitizing our businesses across whether in Africa or globally, and embedding technology in the way we work, how we provide services to the clients, to our clients or to ourselves. We're actually disrupting ourselves internally as well. We're transforming the way we do our work. We provide those services, and we're defining what we call, how to deliver value to customers, what we call value, and so we're bringing a sense of creativity, agility, and efficiency to our businesses. And again, with our people, we're doing a lot of upskilling globally. We call something which we extended to a lot of our clients, digital fitness. As a partner in PwC, it's actually mandatory, whether you're the global chairman, to go through the digital fitness test. It's actually part of our appraisal program. And no matter how senior or how junior you are, that you go through digital fitness program. It's available on an apps, and it's mandatory. So it's actually you are appraised no matter your level at PwC, and because we
But
know that. Go on. Yeah.
Femi, what was the opportunity that you saw that led to the drive for this innovation center?
Okay. So it, I mentioned a couple of that, but when you look at the entire space globally and locally, you find out that a lot of business models and strategies actually are going to be driven through emerging technology going forward. Customer engagement, um, profitability, reducing your cost margins. A lot is actually within the technology space. You've got to use technology driving that. And how do we prove to our clients that we are ready to play in this game if we as a firm are not necessarily disrupting ourselves? So the thought around how do we disrupt ourselves if it's not technology? And in 2018, I actually drew up a business plan, a business case around PwC Nigeria. We need to start disrupting ourselves. PwC globally is a partnership and locally is a partnership. That means that the partners share the profits at the end of the day. Yeah, at the end of every year. But again, I had to convince the partners to say our future cannot be sustained through the way we work at the moment. So I put up a business case together, supported by the regional leadership, especially our regional CEOs, to say, and again, it's very easy for a lot of business leaders across organizations, especially to particular age, not to get into this because, why will I want to invest? It's a lot of money. I can't mention that publicly. When I can get the returns and retire after a few years. So it's always you are caught in between. The guys are probably very senior who you need their buying to say, should we invest now? But very convincing that we had to do this. So in 2018, put up a business case together for an experience center to be built, and we were actually the first in Africa to be launched before South Africa. So we launched June 2019. And South African firm launched November. I think Morocco would have launched by now. So we have about 35 of such centers globally and still counting. So it's actually a global thing that we all know that we need to disrupt ourselves. So we focused on what I call, so we named it PwC Experience Center, but we call it Home of Innovation and Emerging Tech. So we provide services like disruption, service disruption, disrupting our clients' business models and strategies. We're into building virtual reality solutions. Actually, we're going to launch one very soon around the health and safety space for the oil industry. We have actually built a training, virtual reality training program, which you can immerse yourself through a virtual reality solution built in Nigeria. Every single thing in Nigeria, what we do. So it's everything local. We're making a lot of investments. We're into, yeah, go on.
So let me pick up something on there, Femi, because I think that's a very crucial point. You
Yeah,
said built in Nigeria.
yeah.
How difficult was it to get the talent required for such projects?
Okay. And I think this is a question I get a lot from my clients. I've had, I'm not sure if I mentioned that I've hosted about 50 CEOs. I hosted about 50 CEOs between July and probably February before the lockdown. And I get this question, Femi, you know, are you getting all these guys from Nigeria? And I say yes, 100%. But what I tell people is that you've got to be able to invest in these people and trust. Nigerians are very brilliant. If the likes of Google and Facebook and co are actually, recruiting from Nigeria, actually supporting innovation centers in Nigeria, and actually funding them, um, and all the programmers and the developers and the data scientists are in Nigeria and being funded, then the skills are. And another question I get, oh, did they all go to foreign school? I said, no, maybe 5-10%. They all went to Nigerian universities. But one thing I do, I say, come in, as long as you're smart and you got passion, you got the free space. We put in money. We're putting our money where our mouth is. So we're training people. We have probably the biggest team in technology and emerging tech space and data scientists. I probably have data scientists, AI guys, RPA guys, probably 40 and counting or more, close to 50. And if you go into LinkedIn in the last 1 or 2 weeks, you're probably looking for data engineers, machine learning guys, RPA guys. So I probably have about an additional 10 in the public space that people have submitted CVs. We're committing. We're not expecting the best at that when they come for that interview, but we'll make them the best when they join PwC. So that's the
Wow. So you have a training program to develop the resources locally.
yeah.
Are you seeing are you seeing that model replicated across the African countries you've been working with?
We are. So my role actually cut across West Africa, especially the English West African countries. So we make Lagos the hub, for instance, Nigeria as the hub for our emerging tech and technology space generally. But we are. So for instance, we run probably the biggest data science academy in Nigeria. We launched over about 2 years ago now, and I can tell you, when it comes to data sciences, whether intermediate, beginners, or advanced, we'll probably train to be on the safe side, not less than 500 and counting in the last 2 years, if not more. And includes public sector guys. And these are, even recently, because of the lockdown, we've actually been training people globally. So we've had people, paying from the US and joining our virtual training program. So, and that speaks a lot that the lockdown has actually removed those boundaries of physical stuff. And we are applying solution. We're always trying to go digital, like Moral, and Miro to train our people. And so it's like seamless now, and even better because we're reaching wider globally now.
So you mentioned something there about getting some CEOs to come together and talking to them about
Yeah,
innovation here.
yeah,
Um, I have a question for you. How
yeah.
receptive were they to this disruptive approach?
Um, I would say, it's they're probably even better than the middle management these days, and I can tell you for a fact because 90% of my role is actually engaging C-suites. Um, Fantastic conversations. Like I told you, I've hosted C-suites, mostly CEOs and CIOs and CFOs, very receptive. All of them know that the game has changed well before the lockdown. All of them have been investing in digital, in emerging technology. And I'm not talking about IT. IT is totally different. I tell people we're talking about emerging tech, we're talking about digital. There's a lot of investment. Um, Even during the lockdown, I've actually done a lot of webinars directly with private clients like the banks and the boards around technology. And these guys don't get bored in 1 hour. You hardly get board members' attention for more than 20 minutes. But these guys dedicate an hour, 1.5 hours, and they listen and ask the right questions. And beyond the private sector, I think we have hosted a few ministers at the Experience Center before the lockdown. Even that's ministers in Nigeria, commissioners in states have actually come, and they're actually working with us in this space. So everyone is really ready for change. So it's not just about social media, virtual calling, using Zoom to call. No, it's beyond that. They are thinking AI. They are thinking uh, data sciences. We're working with the public sector government who are thinking, how do I run my state? Can you, Femi, can you actually help me predict, based on the fall in oil prices effects, analytics, predictive analytics around the Nigeria, the economy. Yeah, so we have government people actually interested in this.
But you're raising a very interesting point here because for I can see here for people in the diaspora, the general thoughts is well, government in Africa uh, is not as forward thinking. They're very backward. But you are having government people coming to the experience center to
Yeah,
discuss this kind of technological and innovative solutions. Do you see that trend increasing over time?
it definitely will increase. And most of the government visits at an up to minister level, and you'll be shocked. This is actually one of probably top 20 ministers who has visited with the team, top commissioners in the states. I'm saying that huge portfolios who are engaging. So when my friends in the diaspora, the few ones, that's why I don't comment on what the government. There's huge stuff that the government has to fix in Nigeria. Nigeria is like 20, 25 countries put together with a lot of backlogs of problems. Some of us that are really engaging know that there is the intent, but it's huge. So people are trying to get into the game, and during this lockdown, I've actually had probably equal number of conference calls, video conference calls with the public sector and the private sector. It's almost 50-50.
So,
So people
so
that are
are
in
you
IT,
saying
yeah, well,
are you seeing the and this kind of moves us into as we start to look at some of the trends from the
yeah,
lockdown. And before I go to this, just a message to our viewers. Please feel free to send your messages, questions in, whether you're on YouTube, on Facebook, or Instagram. If you have questions for Femi, please do send this in. You talk about lockdown there, Femi. To what
yeah.
degree has COVID-19 driven this adoption in some of the markets you have worked with in West Africa?
I would say, it's an interesting question. We talk about this around, in terms of, adoption of, especially when it comes to digital and emerging technology. COVID 19 to me, it's just going to fast track a lot of things. But the adoption before COVID 19, we were already seeing that. Maybe a lot of the customers are actually asking for more. So if I look at the financial services, most of the customers, um, and if you really want to play in the retail space, which is the future of banking in Nigeria, is actually to play in the retail space. So gone are the days when of corporates getting $1 billion deal and making 1% commission. You got to acquire retail customers and retain them over time. And if you look at the average age of the Nigerian population is about 17 years, so you've got to get them at that age and get them moving. So we are already seeing a lot of adoption of digital in Nigeria before COVID-19. There's hardly any bank that do not have a chief digital officer or chief data and analytics officer. And the ones that don't have, I can tell you that they are recruiting, and these are C-suites guys. So every single important bank in Nigeria they are creating roles for CDOs and CDAOs. These are not CIO roles. To me, that is actually saying something that the game has changed.
This is what you're saying here is interesting
Yeah,
because the view that a lot of people have is, things are backward in Africa. This digital transformation journey is not accelerating as quickly as you want it to. But what you are saying here is almost the exact opposite of that.
yeah, yeah. And that's what we've seen so far, and I think that will continue for a while.
Wow. Okay. So in terms of, let's explore this COVID-19 and the technical adoption here.
Okay.
Are you seeing a difference in sectors and how sectors are adopting digital transformation? Obviously, some sectors kind of lend themselves more to this. I was speaking to a doctor friend a while ago, and we were saying that, oh, it would be good if you could have a lot of these remote procedures taking place all over the place. Are you seeing differences across sectors?
Yeah, we are, and because I work cross sector, I've got experience in banking. I work in two telcos in globally, Vodafone group and MTN in the past. So I'm biased towards telco, but we've got a lot of engagements in the oil industry, in the financial. And probably after this session, some of them will say, "Oh, Femi, what have you seen across in our own sector?" So I had to pick on a specific sector or industry. But from my experience, the industry has been rapidly advancing generally towards digital transformation has been the financial services sector, especially in West Africa. It's driven by a lot of factors, including, but not limited to, the maturity of the industry. The financial services industry in Nigeria is very mature compared to a lot of the sectors. A lot of investments, they've got favorable regulations. So the CBN is really on top of their game in a lot of things. So they are well regulated as well. Um, Very intensely competitive landscape as well. The banks are competing, especially the big ones. So we are tier one, tier two, tier three. All of them are competing and bringing their A game most times. And then the availability of investments as well. And again, so and again the customers' expectations. So an average Nigerian customer, even if he has 5,000 in his accounts, expects the bank to serve him or her like an Amazon, like a Facebook. They just want to see seamless service. So the demand of an average customer in the financial service sector is actually huge. And what we're beginning to do with the bank is actually what we call customer optimization. So you will see banks in the next few years building customer optimization platforms. And that means that they really want to understand the customer needs at any point in time. We have something what we call customer churn attrition. So people are building models to know when an hacking is likely to leave their bank or not engage them again. People are beginning to build platforms to know what next will hacking need. You will see that in the next couple of months. And we are actually in that journey. I want to be able, like Amazon can predict through, you open your Amazon account, they are saying, oh, that iWatch, because probably in your cohorts have actually been buying that particular product, or you visited that platform and you were searching for it, That is how banking in Nigeria will be like. And people say, oh, I said, I worked in the UK, I still live in the UK. So I know a lot about the UK. So, we've been rejoicing in the UK. I go into my NetSuite account, I want to pay you. And it gives me, to validate that it's hacking and paying. It never existed in the UK 2 years ago. If I pick a wrong source code and bank account number and I pay that person, that money is gone. It has been in West Africa, at least since I've been in Nigeria for over 6 years. What we're celebrating in the UK in the last 1 year is a norm in Nigeria. And I know a lot of things. Nigerian banks, I'm doing a lot of work in the AI space. Things that, you see some vendors come to Nigeria and they think, oh, we are coming with this traditional solution, business rules based. I'm saying, no, 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 we don't want that. We want predictability. I want to be able to predict a failure. I want to be able to predict a fraud. I want to stop that fraud real time on the fly before it hits my banking application. And these are things that the UK or the US will be waiting for. The Nigerian, so the financial services industry are really at the top of their game. Then again, you see the telecom sector, because of their business, is almost given. You see an average telecoms company, especially in Nigeria, with the biggest, having about 60 million active subscribers, generating about 15 billion transactions a day. So if you're dealing with that kind of data, and I can bet you not many telcos in Europe, one company can generate 15 billion transactions a day. And that's the volume of EDRs or CDRs that are being generated for some telcos, even in Nigeria. So those people, because of the nature of their job as well, are really getting digital, and they know that they have to bring their A game into the picture.
So, Femi, there's some questions here on YouTube. Let's take this and some comments here. This person says it's good to hear that there is advancement in digital transformation. However, the speed of adoption of new technologies has been translated into a robust, has the speed of adoption translated into a robust and proactive security posture?
Okay, so see, if I understand that guy, so he's actually looking at we are opening up the entire space. Are we thinking about the cybersecurity threats? Yeah, and
Yes.
and I tell people, even if you don't go digital, if you still stay on your traditional systems, your typical ERP, just managing things, they will still hack you anyway if you're not if you don't protect yourself. Whether you bring human being there or be located, I look at security as beyond just people hacking into systems. Without any system, people can still pollute and get your money out anyway, and hack into your system. The same way you look at protecting your traditional systems. Your that server in your office traditionally, that you buy one each server, you connect all the SAPs in the world, and the way you look at protecting them is the way you're going to look at when you move into the cloud. You put in these new technologies. You actually connect. So there's actually a lot of connection with third party companies now going forward. The same way you got to look at your security to ensure that you actually protect yourself. And when you're actually working with partners, there are a lot of agreements in terms of where the protection actually lies, who protects what. So there's going to be a lot of investment in cybersecurity. We are not running away from it. But as we do that, you have to keep thinking about your business. And what I tell people is not about having a separate digital strategy, but digital has to be embedded in your business strategy. So your CDOs, your Chief Digital Officer, Analytics Officers, should be sitting beside the CEOs and thinking about that business that you want to run. So if you're selling shoes, how can you use virtual reality or augmented reality to enable engaging your customers? How can your customers just sit in front of their house, on their laptop, and actually try the shoes on without leaving their office? to know if you have the right size and actually try to fit their shoes. We are actually working towards that with a partner, where you can actually try and say, oh, this size 11 that is being made by Skechers or so, and this retailer is selling it, can it actually fit? Am I supposed to use 10 and because we all get into when we get into the retail stores and say, oh, I use 10 and a half for Aldos, but I use 11 for Skechers. You don't need to leave your house to go and try that. So people actually, and if you have a retail store actually bringing such technology to you, you try your shoes on virtually before you even step out and order. You don't even go to the store. You can order because.
That's another level of technology there you just described.
But we are talking about Nigeria now. This is existing in Nigeria. We are at the forefront of doing things like that.
So there's another question here. This is also from YouTube. It says, what are the biggest challenges for tech companies in Nigeria? To have international trade and adoption, a company should not be limited to its region and borders for growth.
And I know, and I agree with you. And I don't think that a lot of tech companies are limited in terms of working internationally. Even if I look at the sectors in Nigeria, there are probably few of the sectors that have got their borders open. And the likes of Andela's, and there are so many good stories about technology companies actually working beyond their borders, and that's a fantastic story. But what I tell people is a good thing to walk beyond your borders to export, and we're doing that. And people think Mark Zuckerberg likes Nigeria so much that he flew in 2 years ago and it was all over the papers. No, he's investing in Nigeria. It's not. It's not. He didn't come to play, and we've had a lot of international investors that will come in quietly and invest in the tech sector. But what I tell people, Nigeria itself is a gold mine. There is so much to be done in Nigeria that we don't even have enough tech companies. Enough.
But if you broaden the scope of that, Femi, are you
Yes.
seeing that in other African countries too? Or is
We
Nigeria unique because of the size of that economy?
we are seeing that a lot of that happening in Kenya. We are seeing a lot of that happening in South Africa, which is given. Kenya is a big area, a big country where we've seen a lot of tech investment. In Ghana as well, because I'm close to Ghana. Ghana, you are seeing a lot of adoption, and people really want to do interesting things. People really want to change their business landscape. They want to digitize their business. They really want to drive their business through digital. So we are seeing that in a few African countries. But again, where you're seeing that a lot because a lot of companies in Africa are underfunded. So there is a lot of funding, and those countries I mentioned, you find that investors go there all the time to support, to fund, and to invest. Um, adoption could be faster if there is more investment, more inflow, foreign inflow, into Nigeria. But I think organizations are one interesting. We do CEO surveys globally every year, and Nigeria is one of the countries that we talk to CEOs, about digital adoption or what CEOs are thinking, what's on top of their minds. And I can tell you, a large percentage of CEOs globally in Nigeria, in Africa, are really worried about digital adoption. Probably, I don't have the reports here, our latest report. Is getting close to 68-70% of CEOs getting worried that if they don't adopt digital quickly enough, they
We'll
might be in
come
trouble.
back to that question, Femi, because we want to explore the impact of culture on this digital adoption later. So we'll come back to that. But I have a question here that we're looking at.
Okay.
Over the past few decades, African software has not gained as much recognition outside the region. What do we need to do to make our IT products world class and a major contributor to GDP?
One of the things I will say to that in terms of gaining recognition, I think there is a role for business owners. The government has got a role to play here. For business owners, I think the focus should be developing solutions that address the specific needs of the Nigerian citizens or Nigerian companies as a whole. Innovative solutions. With innovative business models that will ensure long-term sustainability. What do I mean by that? I do get invites to a lot of innovation hubs, especially when young software developers are pitching. Last year I was in Port Harcourt. I've been to Andela a couple of times when young people have developed a lot of softwares. And one of the few questions, and I mentored a few of them, some of the few questions I asked them, it's exciting. Yeah, oh, I want to do this VR stuff. I say, is there a need? Have you really engaged the customer? I think most of the problems that we have in Nigeria, we have a lot of developers, exciting programmers who develop things that they like and not necessarily thinking about the customer needs. I think we need to. A lot of them probably need to have people that will mentor them because you've got to think about the business. It's not just developing an exciting software or solution without thinking about who is going to actually use them. I met some teenagers in one of those sessions about 18 months ago and said, oh, blah, blah, blah. I said, who is going to buy this? And the guy was struggling. How long have you been in this? Oh, about 6 months, blah, blah, blah. So I had to start engaging him in 10 minutes. So this is, can you go and approach these companies and engage them to actually make your solution more robust? So that's a big challenge that we see when it comes to some of the solutions that have been developed. But for the government, I think there should be more stronger focus on driving the driving digital economy and providing an enabling environment for innovation. I was so excited, and I'm still excited about the government of Nigeria creating a ministry last year, Ministry of Communications and digital economy. And people that have been, watching the news or listening to the news in the last 1 week, even the president actually moved one of the key agencies. Um, this is the agency around identity management, in Nigeria. They've actually moved the whole agency to the Ministry of Digital Economy. So that's some of the things that makes me, that excites me about, the change is going to be long. It's going to be very long. We need to recreate a lot of things from scratch. But if you really watch the government carefully, you will find that there are things that they are doing in the right direction to provide the enabling environment for innovation to drive. To me, I think the government should focus on some key imperatives to enable digital in Nigeria or in Africa, and this includes trust and transparency. And some of the solutions I think that would enable the things around blockchain. And if you look at some of the regulators like CBN, there have been a lot of engagements with people like us, with OEMs on blockchain technology, which will actually, help provide transparency when it comes to government transaction. It's about distributed ledger. You can see things almost on a seamless basis. So beyond looking at governments up, providing that trust and transparency, they've got to build, disruptive public-private partnerships. So they should be ready to go into PPPs. How do we change the game? We can't do it alone. So government needs to provide that environment for PPPs. They've got to balance innovation and regulation. So there are some things, if you look at the telco or the banking sector, the real game changer for bankers is actually how do I know that customer A, 1 million customers in this particular bank that I don't have access to, but I can be able to compete. How do I work seamlessly with other banks and engage similar customers? I know that means this customer, Aki, has got $1 million in my bank. He's not using it. He's probably got $5 million. And I say he's a top customer, but I don't know what to provide for you because I don't really understand his business. I don't understand his transactions. So we need to say, how do we create innovation and regulation? We've got to be able to balance that. Because to truly innovate, we have to crash some of those challenges that we have in regulation. and we
There's
have
a
regulators all over everything. Yeah.
there's a question here which I think you have answered in a way, but it says, could technology adoption, particularly in Nigeria, be enhanced by more investment in STEM education, particularly in primary and secondary education? I guess the point here is, are we seeing the knowledge, the prerequisite knowledge for technology and digital adoption coming up from primary school to secondary, or are we waiting too late in that educational cycle to introduce these things?
I think some. I would say, but I think it's different from state to state. I think we're waiting too late. I believe so much in STEM, and I was engaging with some parents, and I still engage parents when they say, "Oh, my children has to go into programming at the." It's not that bad, but one thing I say, the basic thing for every child is STEM, which is science, technology, English, and mathematics. Yeah, math is very key. Technology, sciences. Once they have that strong background, programming is probably the easiest. Everybody can, a lot of people can program in a minute. But it's actually thinking, how do I really innovate? And that's what mathematics. So when people say, oh, what should your child do? I say, I don't know. I don't know if it's engineering, but make sure get your child into thinking around what they do now so that they can adapt whatever comes into the future. You can't even predict the future. You can't predict 2030. And I keep telling people, don't tell a child to go and study this because you don't know what will happen in 2030. I've seen too many changes in the last 20 years. When I was in the telco in 2003, 2004, we actually had a global leadership program as far back as 16 years ago. And we brought in that telco, we brought one of the top 100 scientists, New York scientists in the world, to have, he flew in, he went in Joburg, flew in, I think we were about 100 of us, a multinational, delivered this talk around innovation. That was 16 years ago. He shared the idea of Google cars, all those driverless cars, lenses, and all those things. And he advised us that, guys, you should stop running telco as telco. That's average revenue. Where all our KPIs was average revenue per user, output. We call it output, which is around measuring voice minutes. So if the voice minutes grow, the CEOs are say, hey, world class CEOs, they can run the best CEOs in the world. Everything was measured around telco. But what did we see over time? This guy, everything is shared with us. He brought his USB stick. People fly with USB stick with their information there. He shared the thing, he took the stick and flew back to New York. He told us to stop being a telco provider to being a digital service provider. And that's where you see the likes of the Facebook and WhatsApp came in. And they are the ones taking the margins, the OTTs, not the telcos. So the telcos have now been made to be infrastructure companies. You're just providing infrastructure. The real margins are from the OTT players and the content providers. And that will keep shifting. So, but if you have that basic thing about let me just be prepared because everything is around mathematics. Strong in mathematics, strong in sciences, you will be ready to adapt into the future. We need all the lawyers and everything to help us. But in terms of that innovation, the basic background, I haven't seen anything that is not been done mathematically in everything we are doing, whether it's in virtual reality or wherever we're doing. It's all based on mathematics.
So before we go into some of the other questions,
Yeah.
I think maybe we should spend 1 or 2 minutes on this question here that says, how can the African diaspora get involved?
Well, it's always interesting. So when people ask me, I said I was in diaspora officially up to 2016, not even 4 years ago. Even when I went to Nigeria, I was still an expatriate and everything. Before I decided, oh, this is great. People can get involved in various ways, and a lot of us work with diaspora. Some people have some companies they've set up and going to joint business relationship partnership with Nigerian firms. And the good thing about a lot of companies that get it in Nigeria, they are always open to, or in Africa, they're always open. So when it comes to digital, you go to the best provider. You want to see how you can acquire and retain your customers, whoever brings the best solution. So gone are the days where you think traditional companies, the big companies will win in that area. No, because all of them are changing as we are changing. And the smaller you are, sometimes the better, the faster you are. We have challenged global companies and have won against them in the last 2 years. Companies that have been known for a particular solution, but because we are bringing new emerging tech, trying to solve that problem that they've solved for 20 years, but because we've been very fast in changing and bringing things around machine learning and AI to solve that problem. We're bringing predictability. We're making man and machine work. So most of the new tech now is very open. So you don't have to be a Microsoft or an Apple or a Google to be able to solve that client problems faster. So it's about opening your mind up and solving those important problems. You need to understand that business problem. So what diaspora can do is actually, reach out, get in touch with companies, and it's not Nigeria is very open. The clients are open, consultants are open to work with anyone, and that's from my own experience. Once you are, you are truthfully going to help solve that problem, and with people we engage, and we partner with companies even outside Nigeria, even with diaspora. We don't say, oh, you must be a global company. No.
That's interesting. Well,
Yeah.
we have about 6 minutes to go, but I want us to deal with that question of culture and the impact of culture on digital transformation. From your experience of helping clients out in the West Africa area and even beyond, how important is it to get that culture right?
Okay, so when you say culture, I look at I think the single most cultural trait that drive technology adoption is the culture of problem solving. Um, and when I say the culture of problem solving, it's not and I think I mentioned that a couple of times where I say we see a lot of guys in the tech area who just want to create a solution. To me, we need to be obsessed with solving the right problems at the right cost and the right speed. Once you have that at the back of your mind, I think that to me, that's the foundation. Everything flows. So this is actually it requires you to create the right enabling and collaborative environment. I've seen CEOs who actually hired my junior staff to say, see, that's a bank, sits close to his office, created a role that was structured. One of the things, actually, before he get the CEO approves, he wants the guys to look at, like an analyst who actually is thinking the future. Because the CEO wants to think, my customers are the teen and the 20s in the next 20. Will they buy this? So you can be the easy retail.
I think, Femi, are you still there? All right, we're going to come back to Femi in a second. Just give us a few minutes while we try to get Femi back on that point. I hope you've been picking up one or two things. I can see some another question that's coming on YouTube. We just might be able to get that question in, but let's just see if we can get Femi back in, and we'll answer that question. But please, if you have more questions, maybe we can take one or two more questions before we wrap up tonight. Let me see. I think I can see Femi on there.
I can
Femi, are
see you.
you? Oh, okay,
Yeah,
fantastic,
yeah, you're
fantastic.
back here.
Yeah,
You know,
can we
so
address that question again? I think we lost you.
yeah. If I can do a recap, so to me, it's more of organizations and people that actually embrace that culture of adaptability, crash the age barrier, think millennial, think Generation Z, critical thinking, empathy, and leadership are now the primary drivers of company culture. Now, if you want to succeed, that culture of the traditional way of doing business has to change. And I've been fortunate to work with, and I'm still very fortunate to work with business leaders, whether you're CFOs or ministers or commissioners. And I see people actively looking for younger people, very creative people.
Can I ask you a question
Why?
here, Femi,
Yeah, yeah.
before we go? Do you think that the challenge of some of the restrictions on infrastructure, the local challenges around the African economy, do you think that is playing a part in driving people to tech?
Um. So, well, so you mean the challenges that we have in the infrastructure in Africa generally?
Yeah,
Is that
in Africa generally, is that having an impact on this sort of values you're talking about there?
yeah? It does. It does. But I can tell you why we are looking at the reliability of telecoms infrastructure. But I can tell you if you look at the telco industry in the last few years across Africa, there is huge investments going on. Even if you look at Lagos during the lockdown, you see all the telcos scrambling to install fiber optic. Most estates in Lagos, outside Lagos now, they are running. It's like a speed race to install fiber optic. Um, and they've all realized because most of them were up to full capacity during the lockdown because everybody's working from home. But it's interesting, unbelievable that a lot of Nigerian students who trying to do work from home, teaching from home. It actually happened during the lockdown for especially in the urban areas. You could not have dreamt of that a couple of years ago in Nigeria. So the infrastructure is a challenge. But again, in the region, a lot of things are emerging, and that's characterized by the what I call hyper competitiveness, which is actually around market share stability in the telco industry, pricing stability, high customer switching. So everybody is trying to do what they can do. We know the big players, the top one or two players in West Africa, they have a lot of funding and they are pumping money into it. But if you look at even the ISPs, all of them are looking for every single, they are sweating out their capital, every single asset to generate new revenue.
Fantastic,
Yeah. So there's a
fantastic.
lot of investments in that area, but they need more. And even if you look at some states in Nigeria, some state governments are actually proactively looking for organizations to come and put the right infrastructures. They are looking for investment everywhere in the space. So that to me is not going to slow down. Digital is the way, and I think the telcos know that that's the only way. They've got to put the right infrastructure, and I think they are doing that. But there's a lot to be done.
A lot to be done. Femi, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I think that's about as much as we can take within this slot. Hopefully, sometime in the near future, we'll get you back again to talk about this journey and see how it's doing at the time. And to our viewers, thank you very much for joining tonight. For all those who had questions coming in on YouTube here, I can see. Thank you very much. I think there may be one or two questions that I couldn't pick up there, but thank you very much for joining the show tonight. And the shows will be back on Thursday. And there would also be another show on marketing next week, Tuesday. It's important for us to look at how we market ourselves, how we market some of these products that we have out there. So thank you very much for joining tonight, and we'll see you on Thursday.